BigTree. This is a filament run out sensor. Comes in quite a nice box, nicely packed. So you get a cable. It's a 4-pin plug, but it's only got 3 wires on. So I don't know how that relates to if you have a 3-pin like connection on your motherboard. So there's only, these do have a bump on these, so they can only go in one way around. 3 wires going to there. You get the board and fitting, some small piece of, looks like Capricorn board and tube, and a small washer, or a couple of washers I think. Another washer in there, I don't know, there might be 2 washers in there, and a couple of balls. I don't know why you get balls, because there's no, so far as I know, when I can get this out one-handed. Very nice. Smart filament sensor. Senses movement as well as filament run out. That's what I wanted it for. There's a bit of a, like almost sharpish edge there. Not very sharp, but you know, like a raised edge there. So that's stuck on there. That's where the plug goes in. Looks like a wheel there, rubber wheel. Some electronics inside, obviously. You can see the looks like a wheel there. So I imagine, and looking at it, imagine it's gears and a rotary encoder to sense that filament is moving, not just run out. So if your filament gets stuck, it will sense that as well. A couple of board and fittings. So I think the idea here is that you put this on your your extruder, your feeding mechanism, and then this goes on here. Trying to do this one-handed, sorry. That goes in one of the sides there. Maybe that side actually. Just trying to see if there's 2 washers there. I don't know if there's 1 or 2 washers in there. Don't know what the threaded, looks like 6mm pneumatic fitting. And basically that's all you get. You don't get any instructions, any details how to fit it, nothing else, just a cardboard box. But it's very nice, looks very, it feels, you know, steady. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 button-headed Allen bolts in there. I do not intend to open this up, because I daren't open it up, because once I open it I might never get it back together. But imagine there's some gear wheels in here. I'll go and get a little bit of filament and I'll try and thread it in. As I say, what those 2 balls are for I don't know, because there's nowhere there's the spare balls for here, and if you do open it and you lose a bolt, could be just spare balls. So it's suggesting that I don't want you to open it there. So it's a 4-pin plug, but it's only 3 wires are used. Don't know why they've done it like this actually. You can't really, could I get in there and could I turn that way? I wouldn't want to because of these electronics on there. But that's below the level of that surface of that circuit board, so I don't think I can turn that wire. I'll get a little bit of filament. Okay, I've got some filaments, and notice that this is quite curvy, so I'm going to try it. If it's curvy, it wouldn't be this way because you'll have that small bit of boring tube going in. Does that feed? I'm doing this 100. I'm to push it a bit. It feels like it's going through. Yep, that's come through, even though it's quite curved, that, so it doesn't have to be totally straight. Does it feel like anything's turning in it? Doesn't feel any friction. Well, I mean, there's a small amount of friction, but very little. There's not no friction. Can we see this wheel turning? Just a second. Put that on my knee. When I pull this filament, can we see that? It looks like a wheel in there. Yes, that's turning. I mean, initial thoughts there is, I wish there was some white marks or something on this, so that you could, although it'd be basically facing this way normally when you're looking at it, or something like this on your board. And I suppose you could put this on a direct feed, but on your feed, well, be awkward on a direct feed, I think. But I don't know. I've got a board and feeding system, so don't quote me on that. If you had some white marks on there, then maybe you could look in from the side and gauge that it was moving, so to speak. Try and show that. Can I get the light on it? So I'm moving the filament now. Yes, that is moving. Moving the filament backwards and forwards. And that's not taking this doesn't take a lot of, it's very minor, the amount of friction that's causing on the filament. Hardly any, really. I mean, it won't slide down there. Well, it will if I jerk it. If I jerk it, see, it does go down. Yep. So that's a brief look at that. Got a little bit of weight to it. That might be interesting if you're putting it on a direct drive. Yeah, you could have it on a direct drive, because you could have a boarding tube going to this from the direct drive, and this up somewhere else, possibly out the way. There's no way of fastening this onto anything that I can see initially. It's just meant to hang there on the boarding tube. So I'll get this fitted and I'll show you that. So I'll just, well, before I fit it, I'll just show you that. See, these do have a little keyway on them, these plugs. But these will only go in one way around. As I say, 4 pins but 3 wires. There's a line there. I think that's just where it's been moulded, I think. See that little line there? I think that's just a moulding line. Not one on the other side, I don't think. Oh yes, there is. Trying to get this in focus. Very hard to get in focus. So let's see the line there. Yep. I think that's just one line. There's one on the bottom. No. There's a halfway line. Looks like halfway line. Again, I think they're just molding lines. Nice, it's almost like a powder coated, but it's plastic, I think. Seems like plastic. I'll get the weight of it. So I have to apologise, but the only scales I've got are these. I haven't got electronic scales anymore, so you can see that's a few ounces. 1, 2, 3 and a bit, I would say. That's the ounces on the inside. Grams on the outside, so about 4 and just slightly over 4 grams there, I estimate. That's important if you want to need a direct drive. I don't know how you're going to mount that need a direct drive. It's going to be, you know, going to have inertia and such like. So this would have to be away from a direct drive if you have one. Right, enough of that. Let's get actually onto the printer. So this is my feeding mechanism, easier feeding mechanism for the quality Ender 5 Plus. Talk about this in this video. And there's the initial problem is that this has these two coupling of this size on, and this has these smaller couplings on. So I'm going to have to take this coupling off and put that on. That goes on going to the hot end. Don't think there's any other way around it. But there's no way of fastening this on. As I said, there's no holes in it, although you do get a couple of spare bolts, it seems like. These fittings that come with it are what a term is passed through, where the boarding tube can pass all the way through and it doesn't get caught. So that's good. I presume they're both the same as that. So I'll screw that into, so you see that the thing sort of screws in there. So there we are, basically fitted on. I've put the wire round the back, going behind this sort of standoff I've got for my easier feeding system. You get clips. Don't think you get a clip with that. Not that I think it's needed. You don't get a clip to clip these. So far as I know, let me check the bag. When I say clip, I mean things like this. This is off the one that was on there. No, you don't get any clips to clip these on, but that should be firm enough on there. Sometimes you might want clips on boarding feeding systems, like when the traction is going on, it might be pushing backwards and forwards. But basically this is how it just hangs there like that. I suppose you could make a thing to fasten it up somehow, but there's no way of fastening it up. What I would say, this thing on here, this smart filament sensor, it feels a bit like it's glossy paper that's only stuck on. Can you see that? See how glossy it is? It feels like it's only stuck on with adhesive, so that might come off there quite easy after time, or be knocking about, which I tend to do. So this is my filament run out detector that came with the Creality, which is 3 wires and a 3-pin plug. Oh, by the way, if this plug comes out, it doesn't sense it. It doesn't sense that the plug's out, so to speak, so it thinks there's filament in now. But that's 3-pin plug. That bit, so that's going to add a little bit to your length of your boarding tube. About 5 inches, whatever that is, 6 inches, maybe. I've just noticed that it is a 3-pin plug this end, so one end is 4 pins with one wire not used, and the other is a 3-pin plug, so I'm hoping that will just plug in. I presume the dash wire is a signal wire. Well, I don't know. It could mean positive, it could mean signal wire, couldn't it? normally would mean positive, I think, a dashed wire. I'll have to check that out. But that's a 3-pin plug there. So I'm hoping that might just plug straight in. But you need to modify the Marlin code anyway. Well, it's best if you modify the Marlin code for this sensor. I'm hoping that this isn't going to be rattling against this standoff thing I've got. So I've just fed this initially into here. There's some filament in this tube that, because this is one reason I got this, is because my filament's been snapping an awful lot recently. Well, before I found some no clog on eBay, no clog PLA on eBay, and that's been working brilliantly. I managed to do, you know, full day prints on that without it snapping on the no clog stuff. But before that it was snapping, you know, every hour or so, and sometimes it would snap after the filament feeder. This is the filament feeder I haven't got plugged in. It would snap here and still get the indication that there was filament in it. So it would still keep on printing, not get sensed that it was run out. But this is supposed to be, so far as I understand it, detects movement. That's why it does the wheeling. And I imagine it has a disk encoder in there, and the electronics to sense that it's moving. And if it stops for a certain length of time, I imagine that it's going to say, like, filaments ran out or jammed or what have you. The length is probably easy enough, even with some routing that I want for cable management, to go into the control box. I don't know if it's going to be long. Will it be long enough to reach to the front of the control box where the electronics controllers are? That might be a bit iffy. Probably not. No, I don't think it will be. We'll work some way around that. I'll probably put join in these wires anyway. We get quite a bit of cable there. See, it's reaching all the way down here like this. But once I was hoping to put in this tube which I've got clipped up here using these clips. There's a video about these clips on the section. You've got that all the way come around here, so that takes up a bit of room if I have that coming around there. Again, I'm trying to do this all one-handed. That's going to take up some of the wire. That's probably, well, it's going to reach the control box, but it's not going to reach the front of the control box like that, I don't think. Where the electronics, so all the electronics are basically in here. This is power supply and such like in here. So with the clip I had, which sort of came off here anyway, I put that on this side. But these two, as I say, do not come with any clips. So I don't know if that will ever be problematic. I doubt it, because this is quite low friction. See how that's gone round there. I did try feeding it. This went fast. Now sometimes this does go fast on the Creality. I think it's if it's been off for a certain length of time and you switch it back on, then when you go to feed it goes fast. But just now I expect it to go quite slow. You can see how slow it's going. But I have known this go fast when I've asked it to feed. Or there will be a bit of a gap before it there's a bit of a gap in here before it starts feeding. There we go. Can we see that disc? See if it's turning? It might be very hard to see. That's what I meant, if that's something on the front as well. Even I can't see it. going to have to move the camera about to try and move this about a little bit. I don't know if you can see if that disc is turning. It's probably well, it's probably turning slow, but I don't know if you can see if it's turning in the video because I can't tell. Yeah, but this, having one of these on, you know, sometimes I don't use it that much for feeding, but it's dead useful for indication that the feed is turning. Let me just move this over a bit. Okay, I'm not on the bed, so I'm going to move it off, get off the edge of the bed, and gravity or the weight I think would pull it. So that's for 600 there. Can I move forward? No. So that seems to be feeding okay, as you see. But I'm going to have to get rid of some of this filament because there's like snapped off filament in there from, well, end of filament. It wasn't snapped, it was end of filament. This is my thing for going on the side of the printer. I've moved it over this side, a bit more convenient. I'm going to have to shift these plugs over because it's a bit hard to get the spool on. I mean, I can do, but getting the spool around here and on there is a bit iffy. You need 100mm behind the printer for this, and it's a big printer, so don't forget about that. It's feeding nicely. Actually sticking to the bed a bit. Don't want that. Right, I'll see about wiring it up, and I'll have to see about marling.